All right, now I can do a proper Q&A and I can properly answer the questions that I was not able to finish answering after the workout for two reasons. One, my computer ran out of storage. Story of my life. So I deleted some things, and by the time it deleted, I had to run to my next appointment. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to rush these answers, so I will do it later when I have time, and here we are. Let me share my screen and I will pick up where I left off. And I might as well just start from the beginning so that way you guys can just get everything right here. All right. So the first question that I was answering was from Julio. Thank you for Julio and Justin for the wonderful question. So Julio said, myth or fact, if you are craving certain foods, is it your body telling you that it needs a certain nutrient? These types of advertisements pop up on social media all the time, and you always have to question those social media advertisements because some of them are BS. Some of them are good. Some of them are BS. How do we know? Well, ask me and I'll give you my opinion. And I do really try to make my opinions more than just opinions, but evidence-based information for all of you because there's enough non-evidence-based stuff out there that you can find for yourself. So the answer is yes and no. And anyone that knows me knows that very rarely do I give a black and white answer. Very rarely do I say yes or no. I'll give the nuance to things, which some people love about me and some people hate about me because it can make me very long-winded sometimes. But I feel like I'm not doing it justice if I just dumb it down. So let me first start by describing times where the answer is yes, there is truth to this. The most notable times are for females around their period because leading up to their cycle, the female body has a greater need for magnesium to make these processes flow. And you all know, probably, if you're not a female, you probably know a female that's craved chocolate before their period. And chocolate is one of the richest sources of magnesium. So there is a reason females crave chocolate before their cycle. And another example is while they're on their cycle, they're losing iron through blood. And I have seen so many times females craving red meat and steak, and they don't even know why they're craving it. They're just like, man, I really want some steak. Yeah, you need more iron. Okay. So there is definitely truth to that. Or if you're ever craving like vegetables, like green vegetables, you might be craving magnesium because that's like a rich source of magnesium. There is such a thing as like the body having this intuitive like knowing of what it wants. Now, a lot of people in the world we live in today are the signals our body gives are a little bit off kilter. And we're not always in tune with what our body actually needs. A theory I have is when people get more in tune with like meditation, breath work, calming down in life, and living in the moment, when people get more in touch with these things, when they get more in touch with their emotions, going to therapy, these are the people that are able to receive the proper signals from their body. So let me give you an example of when this would not actually be the case. Sometimes when we have blood sugar crashes, we will crave sugar. And to be fair, our body does need sugar to get our blood sugar back up. But we have to be careful that we don't just spike it overshoot, right? So if you have a blood sugar crash, you'll be hangry, you might get a headache. Everyone has a different response, but the cluster of responses can range from headaches, extreme hunger, shakiness, irritability, energy crashes. These are all things that can happen to people when their blood sugar drops. And what we want to do in these moments is we want to take a couple deep breaths and eat. We do need carbs, something to get our blood sugar back up. But here's an example of something that might be good to eat, like a banana with some chicken, or a banana, some avocado, and some chicken. Something that can get it up, like with the banana, but then something that will help to stabilize it and not overshoot with the protein from the chicken and the healthy fats and fibers from the avocado, or some berries. Sweet potato, sweet potato with some protein powder. That could also be a good thing. Maybe a banana and almond butter or something like that with maybe a little protein powder, because almond butter is more of a fat source than a protein source. There's a little protein in there, but now something else that I actually want to look this up to make sure, I'm going to just look this up on the spot with y'all. I want to make sure that I don't answer it wrong, because sometimes I say the wrong amino acid here, but I stopped to share just for a second. And in my school notes, basically, there's another really interesting example of how when people are craving carbohydrates, sometimes it's like a self-medicate way to improve mood. And I believe, I'll tell you what I believe it has to do with, and then I'm going to double check myself to make sure that this is accurate. Is I believe what happens is when we eat carbohydrates, so I know this is what happens, the body releases insulin. Insulin's job is to transport things into the cell, oftentimes, a lot of times, transports the glucose into the cell, but it can also transport amino acids into cells. And what happens is there's a different rate of amino acids crossing the cell between tryptophan and tyrosine and some of these other what are classified as large neutral amino acids. And is this the section where I wrote it? And basically with carbohydrates transporting these amino acids, here it goes. Nope, that's not it. That's not the part. Oh, I think it's this. Food module 4, food, mood and behavior. Yeah. Tryptophan. Where's transporter? Yeah, just give me a second. Here it is. Here it is. Mm-hmm. So it says high protein diets typically are higher than other when carb consuming insulin release help, except tryptophan. Yeah. Okay. So here's what happens. When we eat carbohydrates, insulin is released. Insulin brings glucose into the cell, but it also brings amino acids into the cell. Except for some reason, tryptophan actually stays in the blood more than some of our other amino acids like tyrosine or phenylalanine. What does that mean? Well, that simple fact that eating carbohydrates, the net result is there's more tryptophan, which is an amino acid. Every time you eat chicken or turkey, you're eating something that's broken down into tryptophan. And if you're eating carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are bringing most things into the cells, except it doesn't bring tryptophan into the cells, there's more tryptophan in your bloodstream to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier. What does tryptophan get converted into? Serotonin, which then gets converted into melatonin. So this is actually why some people on a ketogenic diet over time, depending on their underlying genetics and other underlying factors, may start to feel more depressed symptoms because they're not getting, relatively speaking, as much tryptophan going into the brain if they're on a ketogenic diet versus someone that's eating a more carbohydrate inclusive diet. So basically, if you're eating more carbs, it can help the body to transport tryptophan into the brain where it's converted to serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone. It's a feel-good neurotransmitter. So some people, the theory is that some people that are craving carbs are actually self-medicating because they're trying to fight depression. So you could actually argue that there is a reason the body is craving that. But then when it comes to certain nutrients, like this is something that I've noticed for myself personally, and this is more anecdotal, but I think that there could be truth to it, which is basically when I'm cutting for a photo shoot, which hasn't happened in a while because I'm not on that journey right now. I'll get back there one day. But when I'm cutting for like a show or a photo shoot and my calories are low, for me, low calories are like 1,700 calories is really low for me. I get super hungry on 1,700 calories. But on those days, I would notice if I have a mineral electrolyte drink at night when I'm really hungry, it really helps to curb my appetite. And my theory, more so than just like a bubbly drink. And my theory is when calories are low, you're getting fewer nutrients in the body. And hunger sometimes we've all heard, or most of us have heard, not all of us, have heard that thirst can be mistaken for hunger. So sometimes being really thirsty can make the body think that it's actually hungry, which maybe it's hungry and thirsty, but sometimes drinking water can really curb someone's appetite. Well, I've definitely observed that. And I've talked to clients who have observed this as well, that like if they have just like a vitamin or mineral drink, it curbs the appetite. So maybe it is the body saying, hey, give me more nutrients. So there's definitely truth to it, but just have caution because here's another example of where I wouldn't agree with it is like sometimes if we're craving sugar or something sweet, um, our gut microbes might be dictating that. And a great example is if you have an overgrowth of fungal species in the gut, everyone has bacterial and fungal species living in the gut. A healthy gut has all of these species. It's just the amounts are the fungal species way overgrown. Overgrown fungal species in the gut can cause someone to crave sugar because the fungus feeds on the sugar. So when, at the doctor's office I work in, when we're running the gut test, and if they have an overgrowth of fungal species, depending on how bad it is, we have different herbal antimicrobials, so we might put them on. And we'll also oftentimes recommend either an anti-candida diet or a low sugar diet at the very least, to help to rebalance and bring those fungal species down to a more moderate level. So yeah, sometimes like these sugar cravings can be from that, and it could even be like you're always craving fruit. Like those people, I mean, it could be from that. A lot of times people are craving like more of the processed carbs. So basically, not everyone is in tune with their body. So not everyone, if they're craving something, it's always something that's true and in tune with the body. So, okay, that was enough of an answer for that. But yes, sometimes, and if you have a more specific question, like, oh, what if you're craving this? What if you're craving that? If you have a more specific question, then just let me know, but we'll keep it there for now. And then Julio asks, how do you get over a plateau when working out? Weight-wise, what can we do to get over the hump? When in the military, I was told two different ways. One was to keep the body guessing by working out during different times of the day. Others said work out consistently at the same time every day. So let's address the first part. How do you get over a plateau when working out? So when he asked me that during our one-on-one session, we decided that we would switch his workout plan. So he was following the at-home workouts, but he has a gym where he works. And so now he is going to be doing the gym workouts, which I am a strong believer, and you do want to switch the style of your workouts. So if you've been doing the at-home workouts, hey, now you can get a gym membership and you can do the gym workouts, that can help to take you to a new level. When COVID hit and when all of my clients that were working out in the gym with me, we couldn't work out in the gym anymore. So guess what we did? We did at-home workouts. We did body weight. Some of them had dumbbells. We used dumbbells. We used resistance bands. A lot of them I had go on Amazon and order resistance bands because they couldn't find dumbbells. And guess what? An they saw a breakthrough in their health and fitness, and they saw better results, and they were so amazed. They're like, how could this be that I'm not working out at the gym and I'm seeing progress, and it's because you're switching things up on the body. But um, in regards to the second part, as far as working out during different times of the day, I don't think that is impactful as switching up the style of your workouts. So switching up the style of your workouts could mean, sometimes you're doing at-home body weight stuff, which is what we do with the Thursday workouts. Sometimes you're at the gym lifting heavy weights. Sometimes you're doing cardio. You see the method to how I put the charge up workouts together. There's cardio, there's weights, there's body weights. And then within that, there's still variation because the first 3 weeks are a different structure than the second, than the last. We're doing 10 sets of 10 sometimes. We're doing 4 sets of 20 or 5 sets of 20 or drop sets or supersets or circuits. Like all of these are examples of ways to switch things up. Maybe on the cardio days, maybe you randomly throw in a hot yoga instead of what you're normally accustomed to doing, or, just different things. So absolutely, there's truth to that. The switching up could be, oh, I'm going to challenge myself by lifting heavier weight, which is called progressive overload, progressively adding more weight. So there's so many different ways to switch up your workouts. Now, regarding the different time, the way I'm not, or the reason I'm not really like, oh yeah, is because we always have to remember there's thousands of variables that impact an outcome. And it's really important to understand how much weight do we assign to each of the variables. So when it comes to, if you're working out in the morning today and then you work out at night tomorrow, that switch in the body is going to cause you to get better results. No, because one of the variables that I think should get weighted more heavily is working out too close to bedtime is not good. Getting a cortisol spike right before bed is not conducive to your circadian rhythm. So you can't tell me that the switching up of the time of the day will outweigh the benefit that you would get from working out in the first part of the day. And you can't tell me that the negative impacts from working out right before bed wouldn't be weighted more heavily. So hopefully that made sense. But now you might say, well, what if I don't work out right before bed? Well, between the time you go to bed and count back like 2.5 to 3 hours, you shouldn't be working out during that time frame. I think it is best for people to work out in alignment with the circadian rhythm based on the research I've read. So, remember, cortisol is highest in the morning, and it should come in like when you map someone's cortisol levels, a person with a proper circadian rhythm will have a spike in the cortisol in the morning because that's what wakes us up. The spike of cortisol. Remember, all of our body's cells have these built-in circadian clocks, and we're releasing hormones in accordance with the sunrise and the sunset. It's amazing how in tune with nature our bodies are. And as the day progresses, the cortisol gradually falls. What happens if you have like this super high intense workout right before bed or like, within 3 hours of bedtime? You're disrupting the circadian rhythm. And that can, if you're consistently doing that, that's not going to give you as good of an outcome as if you're working out during the first part of the day when the cortisol is already supposed to be a little bit higher. So I tend to prefer people work out in the first part of the day for that reason. I think that is a sufficient answer there. And now the final question is not posted here, but Justin and I had a great workout yesterday during his one-on-one session. And he told me during the session, he's like, I'm surprised that I feel weak today. He said, I used to be able to do these lunges that we were doing. I was doing them last time with like 30, 35-pound dumbbells. And today I'm like struggling with 15-pound dumbbells. So he asked me, oh no. Okay. Not that big. Let me zoom out a bit. So he's basically asking me, he said, I had consumed virtually no carbohydrates after 7 a.m. yesterday morning, so the day before we did the leg workout. I would like your input and thoughts on this theory, please. Usually my energy is not a problem, but I'm wondering if my performance would be even greater if I allocate a certain percentage of my carbs to be consumed at dinner time, especially on nights before our one-on-one leg workouts. Now, this is the beautiful thing is Justin collects so much data and makes it easy to give me an answer to this question. So what I did was I went back to his food tracker. So this was yesterday on October 16th. So I went back to see what did he eat the day before. Now, Justin is amazing. He wakes up, he eats breakfast before our workouts, and we're working out at 5 a.m. his time. It's 8 a.m. my time, but 5 a.m. his time. So that is commitment. But I've also, just to be clear, I've had the conversation with Justin that I do want him to prioritize sleep. So if he's able to get sufficient sleep, which if you see right here, Justin's sleep data, this is why we're making sure that waking up like this is not coming at an expense to getting enough sleep. So just to be clear on that. Now, I looked at what he ate on the 15th, the day before. And this is so October 15th. So actually, Justin, you definitely ate sufficient carbs this day. So the reason you felt weaker cannot be explained by the carbohydrates because you had over what your typical carb, well, actually not much. So you're still you let me be clear. This was a good day of eating here for you. Barring, as you know, I do want you to get away from the Kodiak pancakes, and I think you did have some here. So we talked about making the paleo pancakes, and you're going to make that switch. But You definitely had sufficient carbs, and you even had sufficient carbs at night. Well, depending on when you ate this snack. So, okay, I still stand by that answer, but I just initially when I saw this, I saw a Cliff Bar as the last thing, and it has 43 grams of carbs. But regardless, even if you ate that Cliff Bar um up here with your lunch or after breakfast, those carbohydrates, unless you had a super intense, this would be the one exception. If you had a super intense workout, let me see if you logged a workout this day. No. So unless you had a super intense workout, I mean, imagine what we did for leg day and doing that like 2.5 times. Unless you did something like that, these carbohydrates will still have been in your system. So remember, our muscles have glycogen stores and it houses carbohydrates and they stay stored up in there for when the body needs them. So definitely you should have had full filled out glycogen stores, not completely filled, but full enough glycogen stores with having eaten 245 grams of carbohydrates to where that would not explain. Now, what I would ask you is, did you take your creatine the day before or the morning of? But particularly the day before, had you been taking your creatine? That can have a significant impact. Sleep can have a significant impact. It looks like you were sleeping okay. Are you under a lot of stress? Like whether it's personal things or at work, those things can have a significant impact. For females, hormones have a huge impact. Don't you love being a male, though? Because men have much fewer hormonal fluctuations than females. But the way our hormones show up any given day can make a significant impact in our energy levels as females. So, yeah, I mean, I guess let me know if there's been any switches in supplements or in creatine specifically that could explain it, or if maybe there's high stress happening. And let's just see what happens next leg day because just know that I highly doubt it's from the carbs because those carbs, even if you ate them all in the morning, are still stored up there. Now, it could be you have been having some slightly more inflammatory things. Justin does a great job, so I don't even want to make it sound like he's not doing a good job. He does an amazing job. But you have been having some slightly more inflammatory things in your diet, and that actually might be impacting you. You've been sneaking in a little bit more of like the Kodiak cakes with, milk and gluten. That I've seen that impact people, some more than others. So maybe because you had cleaned up your diet so much, when people clean up their diet and then they try to reintroduce some of these things that their body wasn't eating in the past, then that can make a difference. But look at how many great things Justin eats. I mean, he loads up on fruits and vegetables and protein. He's great about getting his protein. So, yeah, so many kudos to you. But yeah, I hope that answers your questions okay. And let me know if there's any follow-up questions. I will see everyone next Thursday and have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend.